Been working on some speed runs of floor 15 in the Kelvin incident of Gotham Knights just to see which of these heroes we can complete floor 15 the fastest with, and well, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go through kind of the strategy at the end of the video. We're going to talk about the loadout, why Nightwing is so OP in these boss battles, because I tell you, out of all four characters, the ones that I tried with multiple different pieces of gear, Nightwing is certainly every single time the one that I did best with. Now, if you're talking about all floors of the Kelvin incident, I still say Robin is the best to get through each of the floors. He's also, I think, the safest to get through the floors. But either way, I think we made a pretty good run. Y'all are going to have to let me know in the comments, what is your best solo run? Who did you use? What gear did you have? Also in the comments, let me know some other video ideas. Do you want to see other gear loadouts, something to help you with other floors, and maybe something to what character to use for the activate consoles and stuff like that? But either way, let's start this off and talk about kind of the strategy of how to complete this. And I think the biggest issue when it comes to floor 15, the hardest thing that you got to deal with is Mr. Freeze and the regulators of the little freeze guns and stuff. There are no freeze drones in floor 15, but the first thing you have to do is get Harley Quinn down to about a quarter of a health. And because once she gets down to a quarter of a health, then Mr. Freeze comes out. And you really need him to come out as soon as possible in order for you to make these speed runs, because once he spawns up at the top, he has to take a couple shots at you. You can't like sit there and hide in the corner or hide underneath it. I've tried that before, because he'll just sit there and won't aim at you. So you got to kind of be out there in the middle, all while trying to kill Harley Quinn. Definitely kill the minions every single time they spawn in. You got to kill the minions as fast as possible, just so you could get you and the bosses by themselves. But once you get Harley Quinn down to about a quarter of a health, then Mr. Freeze spawns in up at the top. He'll take a couple shots at you, and then he'll come down onto the floor. Once he does that, you got to focus your attention solely on Mr. Freeze and get him down to about a third of the health or so. I don't know, obviously, the exact numbers, but it seems like it's about a third. And then once you do that, then he spawns, then he jumps back up to the top to take a couple more shots and tries to hide. And so you got to go through this rotation, and to make these speed runs, you have to make Mr. Freeze do it at least twice. He has to start at the top and then come down and then do it again, and then he has to go up at top and then come down. And you won't be able to get through it fast enough in order to get through that. So every time Mr. Freeze, jumps down, you got to focus your attention on that, all the meanwhile trying to kill Harley Quinn. So we finished off Harley Quinn pretty quick, focused on her only when Mr. Freeze was up there at the top, all while running around, killing the minions immediately. The second that they spawn in, you want to kill them. Then after you kill Harley Quinn, then Clayface will come out. Obviously, you got to focus on Clayface because Mr. Freeze is up there. The minions, again, will spawn in. You got to kill those as fast as possible. And then once Mr. Freeze jumps down again, then you got to go finish him off. And you're going to want to finish him off again as fast as possible, just because his gun, his weapons are certainly the most annoying. The regulators that spawn in when he's alive are certainly the most annoying. And so getting rid of Mr. Freeze is absolutely crucial. Clayface is probably the easiest to deal with, just because his minions aren't really that big of a deal, and Mr. Clayface is very easy to read when it comes to his attacks, how to dodge them, how to get in there. Now, once we get to the end, then we'll talk about the abilities, but you can see I pretty much just used shotgun darts on Nightwing. The shotgun darts are absolutely crazy. If you noticed earlier when we attacked Mr. Freeze, we hit one over 800,000 on Mr. Freeze with the shotgun darts. But there goes Clayface, and that is pretty much it. Now, as far as the timer goes on these speed runs, unfortunately, it's not a true time, because the timer actually counts in the cutscenes. So once you spawn into the floor, the time it takes for you to run into the fighting zone or whatever, that timer is still ticking. Once the cutscenes come in the beginning, the timer is still ticking. The end is almost a minute of a cutscene. So overall, it's about a minute and a half that is actually on the timer when it comes to the cutscenes and stuff. So it's really hard to trim it down really, really low just because of all of the cutscenes. And then, of course, Mr. Freeze jumping up and down. But even with all of that, even with all of the cutscenes and everything, we finished in 5:15, and it's about a minute and a half of cutscenes. So we finished under 4 minutes, just under 4 minutes of fighting, about 3:45. Pretty darn good. Now let's take a look at the loadout. We're going to go through each one of these pieces. I'm going to tell you why each one of these pieces certainly work really well with this particular loadout. And I tried multiple different things, multiple different pieces, multiple different new pieces. And this is at least what I felt worked the best and what I felt had, the most efficiency when it came to, the actual floor 15. Maybe not the entire Kelvin incident, but at least with floor 15. So looking at the properties, really the only two properties, I guess, in here that I really like, the Ruthless Power. Increases damage for a short duration after dealing a critical damage. And so this is very important. Obviously, getting more damage is going to let you kill the bosses faster. Ruthless Heal grants health over time after dealing critical damage. Now, I set it up to where the darts deal critical damage almost 100% of the time. So you're always going to be getting increased damage, always going to be getting crits, always going to be getting health. As far as the mods go, at least for floor 15, and you could almost apply this to every floor, use cryogenic. Because there's nothing worse than being frozen, and if you don't have any resistance, you freeze quite often when it comes to facing floor 15. So I max out on the cryogenic shell, and then this one also has incendiary armor as well, which Harley Quinn does. So that kind of helps too. The defense and health really is not an issue. Nightwing heals so much. We get so many crits. We get so much health back from the damage we do. So this doesn't need to be level 80, and I haven't got a drop at level 80. That's why I haven't used it. And the ones that I have used at level 80, this one just worked better. So the melee escalation, a Screaming Sticks, we do have this at level 80. Mythic and two of the similar gear properties, Ruthless Power, increased damage after crit, and then Precision Offense, hitting an enemy's weak spot with a ranged attack, increases crit chance for a short duration. And so we're going to be using mostly ranged attacks. We did use some melee in there, and since we do use some melee and I want always to get crits, we put all crit mods on there. So 10% all the way up to 50% just on the gear itself. And then finally with the ranged, we have the new Shock and Awe darts, which I really do like. I really like these. I really like the properties. Untouchable Power increases base damage when health is full. Nightwing heals all of the time, so you're going to be able to get that increased damage, especially if you're able to stay away from the attacks and stuff. Knockout Multiplier, knocking out an enemy with momentum ability grants double damage for the next attack. If you could set it up to where you kill a minion and then use a momentum ability on like Mr. Freeze or something, get that double damage, you can get well over 1 million. Now we did 800,000. But I think you can still get well over 1 million. Ruthless Power increases damage for a short duration after dealing critical damage. Headshot Multiplier, following a headshot, next hit deals double damage. This item comes with Bioelectric Elemental and good crit chance, good crit damage or decent crit damage. And for me, I put on 1 crit mod, crit chance mod, and the rest elemental effect buildup. When you were watching the video, you saw a lot of bioelectric stuff going on. And so that is because our elemental effect buildup is almost 1,000. I think this is an excellent piece. And as far as like the new items go, this is probably my favorite one. So there are the overall stats, 50,000 power. It's going to be closer to 60,000 once we get a new suit, but the melee damage, the crit chance is all pretty good. You know, with his skills, he does get extra bonuses. And particularly with Nightwing, he does have a couple skills that certainly make him a lot better. One of them being if they hit the enemy with darts, lowers their defense by 10%. He also has another skill that I really like, which when he hits an enemy with his darts, he inflicts elemental buildup. So not just the buildup from hitting the enemy, but once you hit the enemy with the 1,000 elemental buildup that we have in here, it also does buildup as well. So you pretty much can get elemental effects on everybody. He also has another skill, which I do really like. If you actually team up or duo with Red Hood gives Nightwing 15% extra ranged damage. So this build with a Red Hood would be absolutely insane. The power numbers, the damage numbers would be out of the roof. But either way, like I said, let me know in the comments, what is your fastest run? What build did you use? And what other videos do you want to see? You know, if you want to see tutorials or something like that, going through each of the floors, or what other characters, you know, I do my fastest runs with, you know, let me know that in the comments as well. But either way, I will see y'all next time. Y'all take it easy. Hopefully y'all had a good weekend. We're out. Peace.